It all started the day my parents decided my car wasn't mine anymore. I'm Alex, 19, and I've been saving up for that old Honda Civic since I was 15. For long years flipping burgers, stocking shelves, and doing odd jobs around the neighborhood. Every penny carefully stashed away until I finally had enough. That rusty little heap might not seem like much, but to me, it represented freedom, late-night drives with friends, peaceful rides with music blasting, and a life away from my family's never-ending drama. But then Jake turned 16, got his license, and suddenly, my hard-earned car wasn't mine anymore. Jake's my little brother, the family golden child, spoiled beyond belief. He's used to getting exactly what he wants, when he wants it. When he hinted at wanting my car, I brushed it off. I mean, who would give away their child's car to someone else, right? Turns out, my parents would. It was a sunny Saturday afternoon when my world shifted upside down. I just finished washing my car, taking extra care on those stubborn rims, when my dad walked over with that familiar, uncomfortable expression. "Alex," he began, scratching his head awkwardly. "Your mom and I were talking, and since you're heading to college soon, we think Jake could use your car more." I froze, soapy sponge dripping from my hand. "Dad, are you kidding me? I paid for this car. I've been working since freshman year." "Well," he cleared his throat, not meeting my gaze. "You'll figure something out. You're resourceful. Jake needs the car more right now. Soccer practice, hanging with friends, you understand." My heart sank, replaced by a burning frustration. "No, Dad, I don't understand. You can't just take something I bought. I earned this." He raised a hand dismissively, already walking back inside. "End of discussion, Alex. End of discussion." Just like that, as if 4 years of sweat and sacrifice meant nothing. Jake strolled out moments later, casually snatching the keys off the hood with a smug grin. "Thanks, bro," he said, mockingly waving as he hopped in the driver's seat. I stood in the driveway, fists clenched, anger bubbling inside me. But I knew shouting wouldn't change a thing. My parents had always favored Jake, and nothing I said could ever shift their warped logic. Still, watching him drive away in my car, the one I'd paid for, maintained, cherished, felt like someone punched me right in the gut. Days turned into weeks, and the sight of Jake zipping around town in my car became unbearable. My parents brushed off every complaint I made, accusing me of jealousy or selfishness. My mother would roll her eyes and sigh. "Alex, you're older. Act your age. Jake needs this." My frustration simmered, morphing slowly into quiet rage. I found myself losing sleep, lying awake at night, replaying every unfair moment. The hardest part was feeling utterly powerless. I tried confronting Jake directly, but he'd just smirk and walk away, leaving me stewing. Then, one afternoon, everything changed. I was sulking in my room, scrolling aimlessly on my phone, when my friend Marcus called. His voice was urgent. "Alex, I just saw your car." "Well, Jake's driving. But dude, he's driving like a maniac. Nearly took out a mailbox. You gotta do something." That was my breaking point. Something inside me snapped. I wasn't just angry anymore. I was worried, genuinely worried. Jake was reckless, careless, and it terrified me what might happen if I didn't intervene. But confronting my parents again wouldn't work. They'd side with Jake, like always. I needed a different plan. I decided to check into my car's paperwork. After all, I'd bought it used from a guy off Craigslist who had been vague about its history. Maybe, just maybe, I'd find something useful. Digging through the documents, I discovered a tiny detail I'd overlooked before. My car had a salvage title. It had been repaired after a serious accident, and while safe to drive, the repairs had been extensive enough to earn it the dreaded salvage status. That's why it had been so cheap, but at the time, I'd barely cared. An idea struck me, equal parts brilliant and risky. I remembered my parents had recently switched insurance companies. They'd never bothered updating the details for my car, assuming everything was fine. But I knew something they didn't. Our new insurance explicitly stated they wouldn't cover salvage-titled vehicles. It was a glaring oversight, and suddenly, I saw a path forward. I wrestled with the morality of my plan, torn between justified revenge and guilt. But every time I thought about Jake speeding around in my car, oblivious to the trouble he could cause, the anger returned, stronger than before. So, I stayed silent. I waited, counting down the days, knowing sooner or later, Jake's reckless behavior would catch up to him. And just as expected, my patience eventually paid off. It was a late Wednesday night when my phone buzzed again. This time, it was Jake. His voice shook with panic, breathless and desperate. "Alex, I got pulled over. They ran the plates or something, and now they're saying I can't drive the car home. They said something about it being uninsured. Dad's coming, but he's furious." "Dude, did you know about this?" My heart pounded wildly in my chest, and for a moment, guilt clawed at my throat. I swallowed hard, composing myself before replying calmly. "I guess someone should have checked the paperwork." There was a pause. Then Jake whispered, his voice now full of dread. "Alex, this is serious. Dad's yelling at the officer, but he's threatening fines, maybe even impounding the car." "Well," I said, biting back the bitterness I'd carried for weeks. "Sounds like you'll figure something out, right?" I hung up, my heart racing, my hands trembling. On one hand, satisfaction flowed through me. Finally, some justice. But the worry lingered too. Had I gone too far? My thoughts spiraled, torn between the sweet taste of revenge and fear of the fallout that would surely follow. Less than an hour later, my parents stormed into the house, voices raised in fury. My dad's face was red, veins throbbing in his forehead. "Alex, what did you do?" I stood my ground, fighting to keep my voice steady. "Me? I didn't do anything. You took my car, remember?" He pointed angrily at me. "You knew. You knew about the insurance. Jake could have gotten in serious trouble. And what about me, Dad?" I fired back, anger finally boiling over. "You didn't care when you stole my car. Why should I care about Jake's mess?" He stopped, momentarily stunned by my defiance. My mom stepped forward, eyes blazing. "This is unacceptable, Alex. You deliberately set your brother up." My heart hammered wildly, adrenaline surging. "I didn't set anyone up. You made your choice. You thought I'd just let it slide. Well, now you're dealing with the consequences." The silence that followed was thick, charged with tension and unresolved anger. My parents stared at me, suddenly realizing their golden child was no longer untouchable, that actions actually had consequences. Jake hovered behind them, silent and wide-eyed, for the first time unsure how to manipulate this situation to his advantage. Just as my father opened his mouth to respond, his phone rang sharply, breaking the tense silence. He glanced down, his expression shifting instantly to worry, and stepped away to take the call. We stood frozen, waiting. Minutes passed, each second feeling like an eternity. When he finally returned, his face was pale, eyes wide in disbelief. "Alex," he said slowly, his voice trembling, "what exactly did you do?" I stared back, confused and suddenly anxious. Something was clearly very wrong. The tension in the room multiplied tenfold, leaving us all on edge, waiting for him to speak. Then, with an expression I'd never seen before, fear mixed with disbelief, he revealed something shocking, something that flipped the entire situation upside down. My dad took a shaky breath, eyes darting between me and my mom, the color draining from his face. "That was Officer Bennett," he finally said, voice trembling slightly. "They ran the VIN number on the car. Apparently, it's flagged as stolen." The words hit me like ice water, freezing me in place. "Wait, stolen? That's impossible. I bought it off Craigslist. I have all the paperwork." My voice cracked with panic as my mind raced through every interaction I'd had when buying the car. The seller had seemed legit, just another guy wanting to get rid of an old car, right? Jake stepped forward, suddenly not so smug anymore, his bravado entirely replaced by wide-eyed fear. "Wait, you mean I've been driving a stolen car?" My dad rubbed his temples, the tension overwhelming him. "Yes, Jake. That's exactly what it means. The police said they're sending someone here tomorrow morning to get our statements and look at the documents. Alex, you better have everything in order." I swallowed hard, feeling the weight of this revelation pressing down on me. Revenge had tasted sweet for a brief moment, but now I was sinking into a deeper mess than I'd ever imagined. Suddenly, it wasn't just about my selfish brother or entitled parents. This could genuinely ruin my future. "Dad, I swear, I had no idea. The guy who sold it to me said everything was fine. The salvage title made sense. It was just a rebuilt car." My mother scoffed bitterly, pacing across the room. "You see, Alex, your little stunt trying to get revenge on Jake just blew up in your face. You didn't just put your brother at risk. You've put this whole family in jeopardy." Her words stung, slicing deep. "My stunt? Mom, I worked years to buy that car. You just took it from me like it meant nothing. If you hadn't, none of this would have happened." "Stop," My dad yelled, voice sharp enough to halt us both mid-argument. Pointing fingers won't solve anything. We need to get this sorted out before it escalates. Alex, get the paperwork you have. Jake, you're done driving, period. And nobody, he glared at each of us, nobody breathes a word about this outside the house. We fixed this quietly, understand? The house was silent, tense, suffocating. Everyone nodded slowly, acknowledging the gravity of the situation, but deep down, I knew it wouldn't be that simple. Secrets had a way of leaking out, especially in our small, gossip-ridden town. That night, sleep refused to come. I stared at the ceiling for hours, replaying every interaction I'd had with the Craigslist seller, Frank, I recalled. He'd seemed so normal, just another ordinary guy who wanted quick cash for an old car. I'd asked about the salvage title, and he'd casually explained it away as just repairs from a minor accident. Had I missed something? Ignored a red flag in my eagerness to own my first car? Or worse, had Frank known exactly what he was doing, and I was the perfect clueless target? Morning arrived too soon, sunlight creeping into my room, carrying a sense of dread. Downstairs, the atmosphere was still thick, a painful mix of anger and anxiety. Jake sat silently at the breakfast table, staring blankly at his bowl of cereal. My parents hovered around nervously, occasionally shooting me tense glances as we waited for the inevitable knock at the door. Finally, at exactly 8:30, the knock came, firm, authoritative, echoing ominously throughout the house. My father hesitated before opening the door, greeting Officer Bennett with strained politeness. The officer stepped inside, his eyes immediately scanning the room, assessing each of us carefully. "Good morning," he began professionally, but his tone carried an underlying severity. "We've got quite a mess here. Let's sit down and go through everything carefully." I handed him my carefully organized stack of documents, trying desperately to hide my trembling hands. "Officer, I promise you, I didn't know anything about this being stolen. I bought it legally, or at least, I thought I did." He flipped through the papers silently, eyes narrowed in concentration. After a few tense minutes, he looked up at me, his expression unreadable. "Alex, do you still have contact information for the seller?" I nodded eagerly. "Yes, absolutely. His name is Frank. I have his number and email saved." Officer Bennett jotted something down quickly. "Good. We'll follow up on that immediately. But I need to tell you, Alex, you're in a precarious situation here. The car was stolen in another state over a year ago. Whoever Frank is, he knew exactly what he was selling you." My heart plummeted further, realizing the depth of the hole I'd stumbled into. Beside me, Jake squirmed uncomfortably, his arrogance entirely absent now. My parents remained silent, faces grim as the reality of the situation sank in. Officer Bennett stood up after a long pause, sighing heavily. "Unfortunately, the car will have to be impounded as evidence. And Alex, depending on what we find with the seller, we might need to speak with you again. Make sure you're available." As he walked to the door, he paused, turning back with a softened tone. "Look, off the record, I see this kind of thing often, kids trying to buy their first cars cheap online. It's easy to be fooled, but you've got yourself caught up in a serious legal issue. Be careful going forward." With that, he was gone, leaving behind stunned silence. My dad finally broke it, sinking down into the couch with a defeated sigh. "Well, Alex, I hope your little act of rebellion was worth it." The bitterness in his voice rekindled my anger. "This isn't about rebellion, Dad. I bought that car myself. I did everything right. You're the ones who gave it away without even asking." My mom intervened sharply. "Enough. Both of you. We need to deal with reality. Alex, until this gets cleared up, you're grounded. Jake, you're also grounded for your reckless driving. Nobody leaves this house except for school and work." Jake protested weakly, "But Mom, that's not fair," she spun on him, furious. "Fair? Do you want to talk about fair right now?" The house plunged back into tense silence, heavier than ever. I felt utterly trapped, suffocated by the consequences of something I'd never intended. My small act of revenge had spiraled wildly out of control, pulling everyone down with it. Yet beneath the guilt and fear simmered a growing determination to clear my name, find Frank, and confront the man responsible for this nightmare. Days passed painfully slow, filled with cold silence and unbearable tension. My parents barely spoke to me, and Jake avoided eye contact. My life felt frozen, trapped between my anger toward my family and desperation to clear this mess. Then one evening, my phone buzzed with a notification, an unknown number. I opened it nervously, expecting another disaster, but instead found a short, chilling message that stopped my heart cold. "You shouldn't have told the police about me, Alex. That was a big mistake. My stomach churned violently, dread sinking in. Frank had found me first. This was no longer just about family drama or a stolen car. This was becoming dangerously personal. My pulse raced as I stared at the message from Frank. Every word felt like a threat crawling under my skin, making my heart pound louder in my chest. How had he even gotten my new number? I'd changed it recently. Panic churned inside me as I reread his message over and over, desperately searching for any hidden meaning or clue. You shouldn't have told the police about me, Alex. That was a big mistake. Who was Frank, really? A criminal? Just some scammer? Or something worse? I felt exposed, vulnerable, like my safe little world had been ripped open. The idea of a dangerous stranger knowing who I was, where I lived, filled me with dread. My first instinct was to tell my parents, but I quickly dismissed that thought. They'd just blame me, twist it into another reason why I was irresponsible. No, this was something I had to handle alone. I'd already caused enough trouble. The next day at school was torture. I walked the halls in a daze, avoiding everyone's eyes, certain that somehow everyone knew my embarrassing, terrifying secret. At lunch, my friend Marcus cornered me, concern evident in his eyes. Alex, you okay, man? You've barely said a word all day, he asked gently, studying my pale face. I hesitated, torn between needing someone to talk to and fear of dragging him into my mess. But the anxiety bottled inside me needed an outlet. Marcus, remember the guy I bought my car from? He texted me last night. Threatened me. Marcus's eyes widened, his voice dropping to a whisper. Wait, threatened you? Like seriously? Did you tell your parents? I shook my head. They're already mad enough. I don't think they believe me anyway. Marcus frowned deeply, leaning forward. Dude, that's messed up. You gotta tell someone. This sounds serious. The thought twisted my stomach. I knew Marcus was right, but who could I trust now? The police were already involved, but would they even believe me? Would it make things worse? Throughout the day, paranoia gnawed at my nerves, making every shadow seem threatening. When school finally ended, I practically sprinted home, desperate to escape to my room. As soon as I closed my door, another message buzzed on my phone, freezing me in place. Did you think I wouldn't find you, Alex? Let's talk face to face. Meet me tonight at Mill Road Park, 10 p.m. Alone. The audacity, the calculated threat, it was terrifying. Yet part of me burned with anger at the audacity of this man who had flipped my life upside down. I stared at the message, debating my next move. Should I confront him? Could I even handle something like this on my own? Or was that exactly what he wanted, to lure me into a trap? Hours dragged by, and with every passing minute, anxiety tightened its grip on me. I knew I couldn't ignore this forever. But going to meet Frank alone in the dark? It seemed utterly reckless. Still, curiosity and rage warred inside me. I wanted answers. I needed to know why he'd done this, why he chose me, why he sold me that stolen car. The clock ticked closer to 10. Finally, I decided to go, but not without a backup plan. Marcus had made it clear he was ready to help, so I sent him a quick text. I'm meeting Frank at Mill Road Park tonight. Stay close, just in case. Don't tell anyone else. Within seconds, Marcus replied, Got your back, man. I'll be there. At 9:45, heart pounding, I slipped quietly out of the house, walking swiftly toward the park. The night air was cold, heavy with tension. Each step forward felt harder, my legs heavier. I scanned the empty streets constantly, half expecting Frank to appear at any moment. I reached Mill Road Park, dimly lit by flickering street lamps, shadows sprawling across the empty benches and swings. It was eerily quiet, the silence punctuated only by my rapid heartbeat. A part of me screamed to turn back and run, but pride and anger held me in place. Alex, a low, smooth voice called from behind me, making me jump. Spinning around, I saw him, Frank, leaning casually against a rusted swing set, wearing a dark jacket, hands shoved carelessly into his pockets. His eyes glinted in the moonlight, cold and calculating. You actually showed, he chuckled softly, stepping forward. Braver than I thought. My voice shook despite my best efforts. What do you want from me, Frank? Why did you sell me a stolen car? Frank tilted his head slightly, lips twisted into a smug smirk. It's nothing personal, kid. You just happened to be an easy mark. But talking to the police? He shook his head slowly. No, that was dumb. I felt anger rise, overriding my fear momentarily. You ruined my life. They took my car, and now I'm caught in the middle of something huge because of you. Frank's eyes narrowed dangerously, his voice dropping colder. Listen carefully, Alex. You talk again, to anyone, and next time it won't just be a little text message. The threat hung heavily between us. I swallowed hard, feeling my courage fade rapidly. Why are you doing this to me? I didn't do anything wrong. I just wanted a car. He stepped even closer, voice lowering dangerously. Life isn't fair, kid. Sometimes you just get caught in someone else's mess. But remember, you're not the only one who can suffer. He paused meaningfully, a cruel smile forming. You have a brother, right? Jake? He's a pretty reckless driver. Be a shame if something happened while he was out joyriding again. My heart nearly stopped, cold dread washing over me. Leave Jake out of this. Frank laughed softly, enjoying my obvious fear. That's entirely up to you. Keep quiet, and maybe Jake stays safe. Your choice. Suddenly, a car door slammed shut in the distance, the sound echoing sharply through the quiet park. Frank jerked around, eyes alert. For a split second, he seemed unsure, vulnerable even. Marcus emerged from the shadows, flashlight aimed directly at Frank's face, voice shaking slightly but firm. Step away from Alex now. Frank glared at me furiously, realizing he'd lost his advantage. He hissed softly, voice filled with venom. You'll regret this, Alex. Both of you. With that, Frank turned sharply, vanishing quickly into the darkness of the park. Marcus hurried over, breathless. Alex, you okay? I nodded weakly, relief mixing with new fear. Thanks, Marcus. I don't know what would have happened if you hadn't shown up. Marcus placed a steady hand on my shoulder, eyes full of concern. Dude, this is serious. We have to tell your parents now. Frank isn't just some scammer. He's dangerous. I knew Marcus was right. But telling my parents meant admitting everything. The threats, the stolen car, and worst of all, the risk I'd put Jake in. My mind raced with doubt and fear. Could I even trust my family to believe me, to help me through this? Would they blame me all over again? We stood there in the dark, Marcus's steady presence keeping me grounded. Yet the heaviness of Frank's threat lingered, haunting me. Frank had made it clear. My silence meant safety, but speaking up could endanger everyone I cared about. I felt trapped, cornered by impossible choices, with danger lurking just out of sight, ready to strike again at any moment. Marcus and I walked silently back home, my mind spinning with anxiety, anger, and determination. As soon as I stepped through the door, my parents stood waiting in the dim living room, faces tense and worried. Before they could launch into another lecture, I raised my hand sharply, silencing them for once. Stop. I need you to listen to me, really listen for the first time, I said firmly, voice unwavering despite my pounding heart. This isn't some childish fight over a car. This is real, and it's dangerous. My dad opened his mouth to interrupt, but I cut him off immediately. No, Dad. You don't get to brush this away again. The guy who sold me the car, Frank, he just threatened me. He threatened Jake, too. He's dangerous, and he's serious. The color drained from my parents' faces, their anger quickly replaced by confusion and fear. Jake stepped closer, his arrogant swagger long gone, replaced by wide-eyed worry. Wait, me? He threatened me? I nodded solemnly. Yeah, Jake. He made it clear. Keep quiet or he'll hurt you. Hurt us. Marcus saw him too. This isn't some prank or misunderstanding. It's serious. Marcus stepped up beside me, steady and calm. Alex is telling the truth. I saw Frank myself. We need to get ahead of this before something worse happens. My dad took a shaky breath, visibly rattled, finally recognizing the gravity of the situation. We'll call Officer Bennett immediately. Within minutes, Officer Bennett arrived, notebook in hand, eyes focused intently as I recounted every detail. The texts, the confrontation in the park, Frank's threats. Bennett listened carefully, nodding occasionally, eyes narrowing with determination. This Frank, he's already wanted in multiple states, Bennett finally said. Car theft, fraud, assault charges. We've been after him for months. My mother gasped, realization finally hitting her. And he targeted our son? Bennett nodded gravely. Seems like Alex was unlucky enough to be an easy mark. But thanks to his quick thinking, we've got a chance to finally nail this guy. Relief washed over me, mixed with a strange pride. Finally, someone saw me, not as a troublemaker or a doormat, but as a person who fought back against something truly wrong. Over the next several days, life shifted dramatically. The police found Frank within a week, tracked down through the information Marcus and I provided. He'd made plenty of mistakes, leaving behind evidence and trails of his scams. The stolen car fiasco became just another charge among many. And when the police finally arrested Frank, Officer Bennett personally called to give me the news, his voice holding genuine respect. Good work, Alex. You helped us stop someone truly dangerous. The tension at home slowly thawed, replaced with awkward apologies from my parents and Jake. They realized just how badly they'd misjudged me, how deeply unfair they'd been. My father handed me the keys to his car, I serious but softened by regret. Take this for now, Alex. It's the least we owe you. I took the keys calmly but looked him directly in the eye. I appreciate that, Dad, but what I really want isn't the car. It's your respect. It's you trusting me enough to listen next time. He nodded slowly, swallowing his pride. You have it, Alex. You've more than earned it. Jake stepped forward quietly, offering me an awkward, sincere apology, the first genuine moment we'd had in years. Alex, man, I messed up. I was selfish, and I didn't think about you. I'm sorry. I accepted his apology, knowing it wasn't perfect but appreciating the effort. Thanks, Jake. Just don't ever let Mom and Dad use you like that again. Stand up for what's right, not just what's easy. Marcus and I eventually found another used car, this time triple-checking its history. I took pride in buying it myself once again, this time with everyone's support. The ordeal with Frank taught me something important about family and about myself. I wasn't weak, wasn't the pushover I'd always worried I was. When pushed too far, I stood my ground. And now, finally, everyone knew it. As months passed, the story became legendary among friends, whispered with awe and disbelief. But to me, the greatest reward wasn't revenge. It was finally earning genuine respect, self-respect most of all. I proved to my family and myself that no matter how much pressure I faced, I wasn't a doormat. I was someone who fought back and won. And that felt better than driving any car ever could.